I don't know about you, but I am so excited for tomorrow's match. It is a historic occasion, a chance to escape PGMOL refereeing. This is the ArsenalVision Post-Match Podcast. My name is Elliot, the Blackman on Twitter, Yankee Gunner. That's right. We have a big moment tomorrow as a club, a moment where we get to play without a PGMOL ref. Now, far be it from me to suggest that a referee in Europe would not help mighty Real Madrid, so that's a different story. But it is a big moment, and you'll have to forgive us if most of this pod focuses on that rather than the Everton game. We will talk Everton game, the interesting lineup, the rest in rotation, what it might mean. We will, unfortunately, talk about the penalty decision, but then swiftly move on to the Real Madrid game, which we will preview. I will tell you, we got something fun for patrons coming tonight and in time for before the game tomorrow. One of the biggest writers and podcasters for Real Madrid is going to join the show from the Emirates, from training at the Emirates. As soon as training ends, he's hopping on with me to talk the Real Madrid view. So if you want their perspective, and I think it is going to be surprising to many people, that'll be available on the Patreon. We are going to give you an amazing instant reaction after the 10-0 on Tuesday that you can join if you're a patron, or on Apple, by the way. Now, I will say, on Patreon, if you use code AVP, you get the first month 50% off. And this month, joining Patreon helps us give to the fundraiser. So really, it is sort of a proxy donation, if you want to think of it that way. But we just love to have you there if you can be there. And we're going to do the main pod for Madrid on Wednesday, not Thursday. So you have a main pod a bit earlier. We want to make sure we get that out to you. And then Clive and I will do Patreon pod on Thursday. The Berta pod that was a patron pod, I think I'm going to put that out for everyone as promised. I'm just trying to find the right opening to do that. So that's it. We're going to do the pod, but really quickly on the fundraiser, this is going to be a short update, but it's an important one. We did draw the Madrid ticket winner, and I found out it's his first ever Arsenal game that he's going to the Madrid tie tomorrow, which is so exciting, or devastating, but hopefully exciting for him. We are still going to draw the big winner, the VIP luxury box, meet Tim, meet Clive, free drinks, part of Live from M5 for the Bournemouth game later this month. We are over, well, let's just put it this way. This is the most money we've ever raised at this point in the month of a fundraiser. And I have a pretty big announcement. So right now we are at £62,000, 1,198 donors. We have another £12,000 going in today that come over from the auction site. So that's going to put us at £74,000. We have a donor who has agreed to match every single pound up to £150,000. Our goal is £150,000. If we hit it, that's another 150. That takes us to £300,000. And I know Andrew is still yet to donate, and we thank him for his generosity. We have more to give. There is so much more to do, and to help the kids in the Dattery Refugee Camp is just the joy of a lifetime, and it makes me so proud of this community. So that's it, 3 minutes. Thank you so much, everyone who is doing that. We love you for it. The Just Giving link is in the show description. Remember, you can still win the VIP ticket. And then, if you want to join us for Patreon later and help support us, support the fundraiser that way, you're going to get the Madrid view on the tie. So I think that's everything. So here with me now is Clive. Hello, Clive.
Hello.
Yeah, three minutes is pretty tight for all the stuff I had to impart.
It's
not bad.
It's not bad for me. Quickly, right? If that was me, it'd take me 15 minutes. But hey, look, there you go.
Well, that's the thing, right? It really was about 15 minutes of information, but if you say it fast enough, you can do it in 3 minutes. So look, I don't think the Everton game is a crucial one in the context of where we are as a club today, but there are some interesting talking points from it. We will get the refereeing stuff in and out of the way pretty quickly, but I want to start, ironically, with the lineup, because this is a talking point. I have to say, I tend not to think of Mikel as a pragmatist lineup-wise when it comes to prioritizing competitions. I think his philosophy, whether you agree with it or not, is the game that's in front of us is the most important game, and playing that well and playing that to your fullest capability is the way you ensure that you continue to be the strongest possible side. He did rotate. He did rest. Thomas Partey did not play at all. Because Saka played a half. Martinelli played a half. It was an interesting lineup, and I'm wondering what you thought of some of the decisions, including the decision to move Marino back into midfield and play Leo at center forward.
Yeah, let's start with that one, shall we? I think the way Everton play, they do 1-2 passes, they go back to Pickford, and he sends a rocket into our back line, basically. That's their build-up strategy. Then they rush forward to try to claim the second ball, right? So having Marino at centre forward trying to press a goalkeeper is a bit of a waste of a player, but maybe him and Declan Rice are pretty good at second balls, right? So that's the best way to use them for this game. It was quite interesting to see Trossard at false nine again, where he hadn't done so well in the Leicester game. But I thought he did really well in this game. Just his
Agreed.
movement was really, really good, and he sort of changed a few of my thoughts there. So I think the Merino coming back sort of deeper with Rice as well, sort of like coming back in almost like a sort of flat triangle with Jorginho there. That helps protect the next phase of play for the knockdowns, and then allows us to build up into our normal shape. So that's how I saw that selection. Madrid's another game, another opposition, another tactic, another way of them attacking to us. So I never read too far into first 11s. I look at it on the day, opposition, what they do and what are we trying to do to them. That's what I like to do. Sometimes you have to play players because you've got people out, right? So, and then you have to make a slight adjustment there. But there's so many games now, and each game is like FA Cup quarter final. You prepare that way now. To just none of these league games, we just rock up, 4-2 and kick it to the halfway line, wait for the first ball to knock down and play from there. That's the football was when I grew up. Yeah. But that's not anymore, right? We analyse every single game, pre and post. That's just us lot in our hoodies. What do you think the pros are doing on a weekly basis? So it's very interesting.
One of the things that I think people, and by the way, I agree with you. I thought Leo did well in this game. I mean, there was a situation where he maybe could have gone to ground and earned a penalty, something for him to think about. But I think, I am in the camp of someone who thinks in general, if you believe that you're in a position to score, trying to score is the right way. You can't really win as a player, right? Because people will say you should go down there. But if you do go down there and don't get the call, people are going to say, what are you throwing yourself to the box for? Just to the ground floor, just score the goal. I don't
blame him for trying to jump away from James Tarkowski. Who am I to say land and stay in his circumference so he can kick you? I'm not sure. It's easy for us to say than to actually do, given the previous couple of days.
Yeah, all you have to do is watch his I'll put tackle in quotes on McAllister before you start asking players to put themselves in harm's way with James Tarkowski.
Yeah, that was it.
But I did think he did well, and I did think Merino did well in midfield, which is an interesting point, and we might come to that a little bit later when Rice moved back to 6. The other sort of positional observation I have is that Kivior started at left center back, and I think if there was an inclination to play Timber or White at center back against Madrid, I kind of feel like, and you can tell me if you disagree with this is just sort of my Mikel Arteta whispering, I think we would have seen it for some minutes in this game, some form of Miles Lewis-Skelly, White, Saliba, Timber, back four. If that's a back four I'm sure he's considering, but if it's a back four he wanted to go with against Madrid, I really believe he would have liked to give it some minutes. The fact that we didn't see that and that Kivior played left center back and stayed at left center back, I think suggests to me that that's the player he's going to trust in that position. And I'm curious if you see it in a similar way or he's just keeping his cards close to his vest.
I was more sure at the weekend that he'd stay with Kivior. But then as this day has progressed and I've seen the press conferences, I've been online, I can see everyone getting ready. You know what I mean? And I'm thinking, oh, mate, this is game for your life now, isn't it? This really is. And then when you have that feeling rush through you, you think, okay, I want our 4 best players who I trust to be in that back line. I'm not sure where they're going to stand yet, but I just want them to play. So who am I to say that's the wrong emotion, right? So if you're thinking purely tactically and how we can progress up the pitch in our home game, I'm thinking, well, you know what? Some of the highlights of the game at the weekend was Kivior's curved passes into our front line, and I really liked them. His passing ability at the back line was really, really good. It gets us up the pitch, and we're trying to beat Real Madrid. We're trying to beat them. I mean, if we're going to get them, they're not superb defensively. We have to get after them, right? So that really helps. If you're scaredy cat, which is quite right, you think, I just want to make sure I have my 4 best defenders out there. And Ben White, Timber, Saliba, and Miles are probably the 4 best defenders that we have that some people will trust. Where am I going to stand them? So do I keep my right side together and put Ben White at left centre back? Hands up, who's seen any of us seen Ben White play left centre back in the last, I don't know when. Right? So do I put Timber at left centre back? Hands up, who's seen Timber play left centre back? Do I want to move Saliba out from right centre back to left centre back? Well, I've seen him play left centre back for France. He's still brilliant, but he's not brilliant. right? So
Agreed.
do I want to change my right side when I know they're going to attack left side? If I'm Real Madrid, where do I want to go? I probably want to go to our left side, where they know we have the main man, Gabriel, out, and we've got an 18-year-old they don't know much about, right? So these are the conundrums you have to go through, right? So right now, I'm not sure. What really pleased me about Everton was Ben White's in the picture because he looked good. So he's in the picture for 60 minutes or 30 minutes. Doesn't really matter, right? So, but he's now a live body we can use who looks back to himself, right? So do you use him on the outside of the pitch and just say attack, and get that three back together again and leave the others in to defend? Or do we do something else? I'm not sure, but this is the manager's job, right? I'm so interested to see his game plan, what he's found in the analysis. But they are all live bodies now, ready to play. So I'm less concerned than I was a couple of days ago, Elliot.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one because to me, I think I want the strongest possible sides to protect the edges. I certainly want focus on Vinny Jr., but I think what you could do if you move Saliba, I think Miles Lewis-Skelly just looks less comfortable next to Kivior, as you would versus Gabriel. And I think if you move Saliba, you now give Miles Lewis-Skelly the comfort and cover of Saliba. And then you have White and Timber, which is a very experienced, resilient right-hand side. And I think that combination, Timber, White, Saliba, Miles Lewis-Skelly, creates partnerships that can work. Whereas if you go with Timber, Saliba, Kivior, and Miles Lewis-Skelly, I think you have a clear problem on the left. And I'll say this. When you're going to say something controversial, rather than saying something controversial, say it as though someone else is saying it. And then people can be mad at that person instead of you. This is a really important tactic to keep in mind because I'm going to apply that tactic now by saying, Clive, Paul has expressed on some recent instant reactions that he has concerns about our left side defensively. He's expressed that Miles Lewis-Skelly maybe has the occasional error in him as he's learning his game at 18, which is understandable, and that Kivior maybe exaggerates that. And so with that in mind, the left-hand side, instead of me asking you about Madrid, because we'll come to the Madrid preview later, let me ask you about this game specifically and how you felt that left-hand side operated. And in the penalty incident in particular, by the way, I felt that Kivior did not dominate his situation. I think he was a little passive, which is his tendency. I think Miles Lewis-Skelly was sort of confused about the ball going over his head and landing, and it leads to the penalty incident. So do you think the left-hand side defensively functioned pretty well? I mean, it's a tough one because Everton, especially after their penalty, did no attacking whatsoever, really. But what do you think about that left-hand side in particular?
So you're making your judgment for one incident that cost a goal, which shouldn't have even been a penalty.
But
right? So
I'm going to stop you for a second, which I almost never do, Clive. If I had to say why Kivior gives me pause, it's that I feel.
No, but you're talking about this game, aren't you? This game.
Sure,
right?
sure. But so let me articulate this so people understand where my mind is. I think I sort of feel like he's a good player, but every game that he plays, there seems to be a critical moment the game pivots around.
Are you asking me to analyze?
Yes, this game. This is fine.
Or
yep,
are you asking
right.
me to analyze this game?
You are correct. Yep.
In this game, there was
you
one.
Got me on that one.
There was. I don't mind. I'll go either way, right?
No, you got me.
Because I was the one that said, on occasions, Kivior can put on an invisible cloak and disappear at the most critical moment. But I'm also a huge fan of some of the things he does do, right? So I have to say, his passing is incredible, and when he's really focused in a rhythm, he's much better in collisions, but he needs a rhythm of games, which he's now had, right? So I would say his passing from the back, medium, long range, is the best of our defenders in the club, right? So fact, right? He can whack that ball diags, he can clip it down the line, he can curl it, he can spin it, he can do it like when he's not confident, you never see that. And you're starting to see it, right? So on that regard, I have the same fear as everybody else. I was in the ground at Bayern Munich last year. I saw it, so I can choose to forget about it, or I can say, well, okay, can he learn from that? I get concerned sometimes he's a bit reactive, not proactive, not aggressive enough on the front foot. But in this game, I thought he was excellent, right? And on the goal, it seemed a bit strange we allowed that ball to bounce. We didn't drop off. But if you looked at that line, the whole line was in the same place. I wonder if that ball was lost in the flight, and they suddenly, when it dropped behind, it's like keeper was like quite surprised that they were there, that an Everton player was there. Do you know what I mean? And because Miles has sort of half seen that this might go over his head, so he's sort of covered around like a good fullback should. And then, oh my God, it has gone over his head, and then it becomes a reaction, right? And so the way he reacted was to protect the ball, right? So and tried to get his body in front of the ball, and he sort of got pulled around a bit. I think he was fouled. I'll be honest with you. I think Miles was fouled. He tried to proactively protect the ball, and he got bumped and rolled, and he fell over. And that's when the moment that Miles fell over, they thought he'd fallen into Harrison and took him out and contact, etc. I mean, what they thought, that's a podcast in itself, right? I can't think like them, because it seems quite clear to me that they've got no idea what they're looking at, no idea what constitutes.
We're going to come to it.
So I can't even go there. When two players fall over, you've decided to give somebody that. So for me, that was the one moment that looked a bit strange. It looked a bit strange to me. Wish I was in the ground for that one so I could tell what the environment was like. A little bit strange. So do I have concerns about the communication between the two of them? Well, yeah. Do I have concerns that Kiwior is not as communicative and never has been as Gabriel? Absolutely. Absolutely I do. But I've also got to say what I see. And in this game, he did really well. He was strong and he was really a part of our offense. And that's the thing I'm thinking about for our home game. I want us to be offensive. I want us to move the ball forward. He was a big part of our build-up, and I really trusted him on the ball. When he received it and he started pinging it, I thought, this is really, really good. So that's where I am with it. And by the way, if he plays, great. If he doesn't play, then there's a reason for it. I'm really comfortable with it. But much like Ben White, he's now in the picture as a live body where he's been sitting on his backside for 3-4 months. And so he's come back in, had a few games, and I think he's done well in this game.
I love your analysis. I can only tell you what I honestly feel. Everything you said there, I agree with one thing. You said, if he plays, I'm comfortable with it. And I will confess, I will not be comfortable with it. It will be a concern for me. Now, to be fair, you can say, of course it's a concern. It's not your first choice center back. There aren't a lot of clubs that are going to put out a second or third or even potentially fourth choice center back in a big European tie and not have some discomfort. So the question isn't, are you as comfortable as if Gabriel is playing? The question is, are you satisfied that he's at a level where you can put him out there and trust him? What I would say, in general, is when Timber plays and Saliba plays, the right-hand side tends to be a pretty quiet place for Arsenal. When Kiwior and Miles Lewis-Skelly play, it feels that the left-hand side gets targeted a bit, as you would. Of course you would. Where did Pickford's kicks go to start the second half? They went up that side. And that's going to be an active side. It's going to be targeted. So it's not just they're better or they're worse or they're weak or they're strong. It's that the opposition is probably going to test themselves against that side. And that's a consideration. And I think one thing in this game that's worth pointing out, Declan Rice was playing on the right-hand side. And I do think that Declan Rice looks better on the left-hand side. And from the left-hand side is probably able to cover the left-hand defensive side more, cover more of that ground, or at least from the 6 even. It's worth pointing out after the penalty incident, Everton had one quick shot right after that and then no shots the rest of the game for 40 minutes. What do you think of that? The idea of like how the left-hand side is protected and Declan Rice having played on the right in this game and how he looked comfort-wise with Marino on the left in midfield.
Yeah, we were rested. The priority on this day was to give Odegaard some sit-down time. And given the fact that I think Sterling is not available in this game, I want to give him some time on the pitch. I think he's had a half as well to sort of ease Saka back in. So they had their priorities for the game. Like I say, Everton's a second ball game. It's not really, Martin Odegaard's not a second ball midfielder. So I'm actually quite glad that we're doing this, actually. We're horses for courses, because sometimes I feel we play him no matter what, because he's such a big part of our game. It's almost like, well, he's almost like our point guard, isn't he? He's our point guard. He brings the ball up and we go from there, right? So I'm quite glad we're not doing that when the game obviously is not going to suit him. So, I expect Partey, Odegaard, Rice to play. So nothing to see here. I've watched that many, many times. And Declan will be on the left-hand side a lot more. So we'll have a different solution on there, right? So, if you're Madrid, you're going to try and attack our left-hand side. But let's be honest, if you're anybody, you're going to try to attack our left-hand side.
Yep.
Yeah. This has been the case for 2 years now.
Yep.
You know, Zinchenko times, we've had Kivior left back, we've had Miles now left back, we've had Tierney left back. If I said to anybody right now, which side are you going to go down? They're going to try to go down our left-hand side. And what side do we go down primarily? We go down people's left-hand side. That's how we attack. And so, but I do think Madrid are slightly more of a left-sided team by design, right? So,
yes.
And I should know the data. Sorry, I don't know the data, but I watched them many, many times, and I know where the ball travels up from. Right.
So Vinny and Mbappe. I mean, Vinny's on the left. Mbappe tends to drift to the left channel a bit.
And
so.
Bellingham drifts to the left as well, and so they may think, we know what, let's switch our attack and use Rodrigo, but they're not. They don't know much about Miles Lewis-Skelly. Yeah. They don't know much about him in one-on-ones, and he's a different kettle of fish, mate, when it's a one-on-one battle. So, you know, I wouldn't be rushing in to go one-on-one with him very, very quickly. So, yeah, it's going to be so interesting. This is the fun. I don't care about knowing. I just can't wait to see it, really, to be honest. And like I say, I'm comfortable whichever way we go.
Yeah, and I will say, like, if you wanted to say the biggest miss with Gabriel, part of it is actually set pieces, right? Our attacking set pieces and defending him, I guess, to be fair. But the other thing is, I think we have a weakness dealing with long straight balls in the air across our back line, except for Gabriel, who is excellent at it. And so when you take Gabriel out and bring Kivior in, you know, I don't think that's a strength for Saliba in particular, but I don't think Real Madrid are going to be playing Moyes ball, you know, so that's not as much of a consideration. It'll be very interesting. I think this game was a good chance to see different partnerships and different options and different solutions and think about how we can approach things. But I do think that it was more done to get rest and to get minutes in the legs in a certain way, and that we will see what most of us think of as our first choice team based on available players come the Madrid tie. Now, I want to get to the refereeing incident, and I want to try to do it in the least amount of minutes possible because, as sad as it is, we've had to do this so often. First of all, I think one of the reasons this season feels so frustrating, Clive, we've dropped points a lot of the match weeks where Liverpool have dropped points. So it exaggerates the sensation of missed opportunities. And once again, Liverpool lose. This weekend, we draw. So we actually gain a point. But, you know, if we'd won, maybe, you know, we go to Anfield. They've still got Chelsea. They've got Spurs, lol. You know, so it just exaggerates that feeling of what could have been. I want to talk to the people, though, who say you have to play in a way where you can score the goals to win and overcome a decision. Yes, that's true. 1-0 is never a safe scoreline, and there are going to be bad decisions over the course of a season. But I do want to point out we had 1.8 XG and 14 shots in this game. 1.8 XG, by the way, would be good enough for about second in the league. Liverpool, the best attack in the league, averaged 2.19 XG. It's not like we didn't do anything in this game. We ended the game, by the way, out shooting them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-0 in the last 40 minutes. Okay, so it's not like we didn't do anything. We did bring on Saka and Martinelli, and I think Saka managed his way through the game. We'll talk about that in a moment. And this is the key. It was 1.8 to 0.3, 0.3 XG, 14 shots to 3 if you take out the penalty. Penalties just change games because this is the other point. This is the thing people seem to miss. They say, oh, you got to play hard enough to win 2-0. If Everton are losing 1-0, they have to play differently. And by playing differently, we can expose them. What do you think they did at 1-1? Well, I just told you, no shots, 8-0 to Arsenal. They can go back to turtling and defending their draw, which they're very, very good at doing. So I think it is a bit, not disingenuous, because that makes it sound like someone has an agenda. I think it is a bit inaccurate to suggest we didn't play in the way to try to win the game, because at 1-0 to Arsenal, if Everton have to try to go find a goal to equalize, we probably go to 2 or to 3. But they were gifted the goal that lets them protect it. And these penalty decisions and red card decisions are coming this season largely in games where we are leading. And what have we always said? When we're ahead and teams have to play us, that's when we thrive. Not always, I accept. There's the Villa game, for example. But in general, so I do think that that's a big talking point. But Clive, for me, this is everything that's wrong with refereeing and VAR, because I think this is a penalty decision where the referee has a desire to intervene. This is Darren England. He was on the VAR for the MLS red card that was reversed and said to be a wrong decision. You don't have to blow your whistle there at all. There has to be a desire to intervene, a main character syndrome. And I think this summarizes the problem with Premier League refs in general. They have a desire to be the focus. At least it's felt that way. So before we get to the VAR intervention, what do you think of Darren England's call and sort of my feeling that this is a desire to blow the whistle, to get involved?
Yeah, it's a tough one, right? It is a tough one. So forever and a day, we're going to argue about decisions, but I do think penalties need a level of review. You know, I don't
You
see.
mean what qualifies as a penalty because
because
it's an 80% chance of a goal.
Also, in this game, just check your homework. Right, check your homework. You're giving someone an 80% chance to score a goal, right? Do you know how hard it takes for a team to build up to create an 8% chance in open play? It's really hard, right? So, so just check your homework a little bit. Have a little look. Just make me think that you care. If you don't look and keep your decision, that's absolutely fine. But to make that decision, which is so dubious, so soft, we're not even sure if there's any. I'm not even sure who made the contact. I'm not even sure where it was. And I've watched it 100 times, right? So how can you be sure in 2 seconds flat, right? So maybe you thought he fell into him, but he didn't. He just fell over because he was pulled down. They were pulling each other. It was just a football incident. Does a football incident like that warrant a free shot at goal? And that's where I am with it. And it just doesn't. We have a problem for me with the quality of people around refereeing and how the organization is divided up. And if you're overseen and your mates are providing oversight for you on your decision, then you have no oversight. VAR is no longer being used how it should be used. If it's a separate group of people looking at the football incident, independent of their relationships with the referee on the pitch, then I'd think, you know what, if both of them people say it's a penalty, then you know what, I got to take it. I don't like it, but I got to take it, you know? But I know that's not how it is. VAR is now used as a vehicle to look after people and protect people's decisioning, you know? So it's not being used as it should have been used, or as we maybe thought it was going to be used. I'll say should be used, as we thought it was going to be used. In a broader concept, you know, I don't want to. We can talk about how the future of football and how it should look and what rules should change, etc. As for another topic, it's not going to change right now. But to be honest, Elliot, we're sitting there 11 points behind Liverpool. I can tell you 25 instances where we could have made it a little bit better. But then I could also look at ourselves and say, well, you know what? We've scored 56 goals this year. I think Liverpool is looking now. They've scored 72 goals this season. And if we're honest, as Arsenal people, despite the fact I feel that from the moment the schedule came out, it was against us. From the moment those first few away games, I felt it was really, really tough. Can we stay close? We stay close, but we lose our captain. We stay close, we lose our best player. We just go into a Champions League quarterfinal, we lose our best defender. And then you go back to the injury situation. You think, crikey, this is not really working out for us this year. But what can we control? Well, we can control maybe scoring a few more goals to make sure to take the referees out of the discussion. And we have to. And it's not gonna make me feel any better about Declan Rice getting sent off for kicking the ball away 3 yards. It's not gonna make me feel any better about Steve giving away a penalty for an aerial collision or a headed collision. What can you say? I just never seen this stuff before. I've never seen it before. So what can we control? We can control our output. We can control how many goals we score. You know, we can control maybe some of the brittle mistakes that we've made. You know, even the fact we've got the best defense in Champions League and the best defense in the league. We all know some of the goals we have conceded have been like one-shot wonders. Do you know what I mean? Like, where's that come from? They're not even been near our goal. It's in the bottom corner. So if we can reduce some of those things, then we're going to get better. And I refuse to let these people any longer take away, even though they've already done it to a point, take away the joy of watching this football team. You know, we have to just internalize those emotions and try to make sure we learn lessons from this season and build our squad appropriately so we can take them away from it. You know, at the moment, to quote one of your lines, the margins are thin. If you sit on those margins, it can go any way. If you're 1-0 all the time, anything can happen, and it's happened to us a few too many times this season.
Yeah, and I mean, a little help goes a long way. You look at the number of penalties that Liverpool have. That's part of their goal tally. Clive, I mean, that's part of their goal tally. Look at the penalties we have. We have the fewest penalties in the league. We have the third most touches in the opposition box, very close to Liverpool and City, but the fewest penalties. So we're in the box. We're not getting calls. They're in the box. They're getting calls. Yeah, and I don't want to defend. Like, this is where I think this discussion can get derailed. Oh, you're making excuses. We needed to do better business. Like, the two things can be true. I can hold two ideas in my head. We didn't do the business we needed. We haven't augmented the attack enough. We can look at how we play to see if we can commit more creativity into the attacking third. Can we play with a left eight that's more of an attacking? But there's a lot of ways we could potentially power up the attack. But it is simply impossible to deny that when you lose your top chance creator for 4 months and your second top chance creator for 3 months and your top goal scorer for 5 months and your second top goal scorer for 5 months and your third top goal scorer for 5 months, like, there comes a point at which your ability to analyze things accurately is, when data analysts will say, you've got to find the signal through the noise. And I just feel there's so much noise this season that finding signal is going to be really hard. So what people are going to do is they're going to put forward whatever opinion they had already and say that's what it is. And I would suggest that we're going to probably think a lot of things that wind up looking stupid next season and maybe some things that wind up looking right. But there's no question we can power up the attack, and I think we will do that. Look, I think from the VAR standpoint, if I'm Darren England, when I go into the dressing room after this game, Clive, I'm going to the VAR and saying, why didn't you show me that again? I got it wrong. That's not a penalty. Why didn't you show me that again? And this is the thing. I think they feel like they're protecting their mates. They're hanging their mates out to dry because Darren England looks like an idiot. But if he had a chance to look at it again, I think maybe he calls it back. And, Andrew and James talked about this in the Arscast, but I do think a challenge system where each coach gets 2 challenges and the referee on the pitch looks at it is a fair way to do it. Because the VAR clearly isn't going to overrule wrong decisions. So let the ref, because if I'm Darren England, first of all, thankfully not, but if I would Darren England, and if you want to take out the presumption that he's trying to cost Arsenal, let's just set that aside for a minute, despite the fact he's a Liverpool fan and all that stuff. If I'm Darren England and I see that video after the game, I'm going to the VAR and saying, you should have let me look at it again. So just go to a challenge system. You know what I mean, Clive? Like, VAR is by thinking they're protecting their mates, I think they're putting more pressure on them by not correcting wrong decisions.
Yeah, I think it's a much bigger subject. This one, so it's one maybe we can take on in the fulsome of time. I think we have a situation with the referees. I think referees, like many of us, we're products of our environment, right? And the environment around refereeing is not healthy, and it's making them afraid. And this is why they're happier sending Declan Rice off. You know why? Because that's a rule. It's a technicality or law, sorry. It's a law. It's a recent emphasis. It's a law that we've told you about. Delaying play, it's a law. So
it's like speeding, right? Yeah. The speed limit's 60, you went 65, you sped. It's a law.
Yeah. And I can dive into that. And no matter what's said in the ether out there, the environment out there, on any single pundit out there, I can say, you gave me no choice. I'm going to send you off, right? Same for Trossard, right? So, but when it comes to interpretation, where you are now having to decide whether that contact was relevant for a penalty or that contact was relevant for a red card, which changes the day, right? That is where they get scared. That's where they wrap their arms around each other. So the technicalities, and for some people, the small issues, but it's not the small issues to them. It's the one they can go for. It's a fact. It's a line. It's a fact. They can jump into that with, they can do that without no worries at all. But then you have to think about what's your success criteria as a referee, right? So, and for example, there's a game to manage, right? There's an entertainment to manage. And Michael Oliver, when he sent off Trossard, when Trossard was kicking the ball, halfway kicking it to Martinelli to run onto it on the left-hand side, decided to dive into technicality, to send off a player in the biggest game of the season and 20 seconds before halftime. So that game is now distorted as a game. He decided to do that. Now, managing a football match can be done in different ways. If you want to do it that way, absolutely fine. And to be fair to Michael Oliver, if you watch his games when he referees, there isn't the stops. There's a lot of flow. within his games. He tries to keep them moving, but then every now and again he dives into I'm the main man, and that's where he's messing up. He wasn't the same guy a couple of years ago. He was much different. He must be reading the newspapers. He doesn't need to. He keeps the flow going in a lot of the games, and we don't say anything when it happens. But then you see a referee that doesn't keep the flow going, and you remember what it's like. And Darren England is one of those referees who cannot manage a game. He's not strong enough for the big moments. So we as the watching public end up with 10, 12 minutes injury time and stuff like that because he spends so much time talking to people, messing things around. So it's success criteria as a referee. What is that? What is your assessment? Have you failed in the law? Or have you helped manage the game properly, keeping your players safe and providing an entertainment for fans? I think that should be far more a success criteria for refereeing. Have you added to the spectacle in a positive way while keeping the players safe on the pitch? And I don't think it is. I think it's about how you apply the law, no matter what the situation is. And that's not what we're here for. We're not here for that. When the season ticket drops in, it's 5% up. We're not here for that. We want to see entertainment. Do you see what I mean? That's what you want to see. And I think it's very important the referee should be part of that story. Hence why my feeling has always been bring them into the game a lot closer to the players, the protagonists that actually provide the entertainment. Humanize them. Let's get to know about them. At the moment, they are petrified of their own shadows because when they make a mistake, they get abused within an inch of their lives. And I think it's sad we've got this way. You know, it really is sad. But I'm not sure it's going to change this. We have real root and branch review, and it's not going to happen before the next game we play at the weekend.
No, and I think you hear the word consistency a lot, and I appreciate that it's hard to create consistency. But they have to find a way to make Premier League games all feel that they're refereed according to a similar standard. Because you cannot watch the Everton-Liverpool game and see that James Tarkowski tackle and see a referee and a VAR look at that and decide that is not a red card without thinking back to Miles Lewis-Skelly being sent off. You can't, first of all, simply from a player protection standpoint, as Tim always says, it's the number one thing they're there to do, and they don't seem particularly interested in doing it, except when they do. And there's no consistency. Go ahead, Clive.
It's even beyond the consistency point because McAllister, good luck to him, hasn't got his leg broken.
Thankfully.
Thankfully, because he's a fine player about to lift the league championship, right? And he's won the World Cup, etc., etc. If you know anything about football, you could see exactly what was occurring in that situation and what happened, the way Tarkowski addressed the ball and knowing he was going to go through. This is not hard. There are people listening just nodding their heads right now. This is the game that we used to play. This is the game that I used to play, right? So this is like so easy to do. And they had a choice and they didn't want to make it. And then you ask yourself, how come we don't want to make that decision? But you're happy to make the decision at the weekend when the lines were very, very thin and variable and it was very, very soft. Why would you do that? Why would you interject yourself? So these are the things there needs to be a discussion about the refereeing success criteria. What's happening here? You know, but we need adult conversations about this. It's not a problem. By the way, they're going to make mistakes. They're going to get decisions wrong. But now we have a real subject matter. We have real samples to say, okay, how do you want to be? How do you want to manage this game going forward? Do you want to have that conversation, or do you want to separate them from even more and just abuse them when they make a mistake so they've got to have police protection? I don't know what the answer is, but this is not the answer. You know, this really isn't. You know, it's becoming boring now, to be honest, Elliot.
But I cannot stress this enough. I think the VAR approach of, quote, protecting their mates by not overruling them puts the referees at greater risk. Because, for example, Darren England's going to get abused for that penalty call. If VAR says, mate, it's not a penalty, it's a dive, and they reverse the call, Darren England gets off the hook for that. If VAR tells the ref in the derby, Tarkowski has to go, you get off the hook for that. If VAR tells the ref, Miles Lewis-Skelly, that's not a red. If Darren England intervenes there, the ref gets off the hook for that. So, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, mate. I was just saying, but it's back to your environment again, isn't it? right? So the guy who was on VAR for the Everton game, if he gets, some accountability to him, then the rest of the referees know, you know what, next time there's a leg bending tackle, I maybe have to do something. But there is no accountability.
Right.
So what is success? Do you know
It's
what
bad for
is
the
it?
players too, by the way, Clive, because we talk about this from a fan perspective. You hear a lot of fans say, I give up on this league. What about the players? The most important thing for players to know, how can I go into a challenge? What can I do in the box? What qualifies as these various things? I think we should move on, because it's just like, you could go on this for ages, but fair to say it is another situation where we are left having this debate about refs, and then other people say refs are an excuse, go score a second goal. And to my point earlier, like, if you don't gift Everton a goal, and as that game goes on, they have to play to get a goal, I think I know how that game probably turns out. Not definitely, but probably. Not to mention, by the way, there is nothing wrong with having a great defensive record and trying to get goals when you can, especially when you're missing some of your most important attacking players. So we'll see. I want to get into the Madrid preview. It's obviously going to feature some Bukayo Saka talk quite heavily. Look, it's another weekend where Liverpool drop points and we don't close the gap as much as we could. I think it's fair to say the title is certainly gone, but like I said earlier, how you analyze this season is probably going to depend on the priors you bring into the discussion. I'm excited for a big summer and a chance to go again next season, but we still have the Champions League, and that is what the focus is. So let's cleanse the palate of referee talk with the only kind of palate cleanser you ever really want, if I'm being honest, which is brands. Now, I do want to say, by the way, thank you to the brands that advertise on our podcast, because like that helps us do all the things that we do, including raise money for Zattery and all the other great stuff. There is a link, by the way, under stuff on our website, ArsenalVisionPodcast.com. If you go under stuff, there's our promo code. Sometimes people will email me and say, what was the promo code for this? They're all there, so you can go look them up. NordVPN is a VPN, and look, it's this simple. You put it on the device you use, you click connect, and you can connect to a different region. So those geo-locked videos on social media, like 2 seconds later, you're watching them. It's 2 taps. If you want to watch the match reviews of the day show, but you can't from where you are, you can sign up for a free account to watch that, but you need to browse in that territory. So you use Nord. You can even watch shows where the episodes haven't come out in your region yet by browsing in another region. And all of this with threat protection, because if we're football fans, we're occasionally on dodgy streams. You may even be on one tomorrow. So you get the threat protection. We've got a very, very good offer from Nord. Grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/ArsenalVision to get a huge discount off your Nord plan, plus 4 additional months on top. It's completely risk-free with a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's nordvpn.com/ArsenalVision. Do it now. And this podcast is a paid advertisement for BetterHelp. I have so many people that have gotten in touch to say, you know what, I wasn't sure, but I got into therapy thanks to BetterHelp, and it's helped me, and that's all I can ask for. I think therapy is sometimes thought of as the thing you do when you're in crisis, and certainly it can be helpful for that, but I think it is the thing you do to support you, to build a support system. I'm lucky to have friends and family that love me and care for me, but we're all dealing with our own shit, and someone whose job it is to help you work through things is a support system that you all need. So yes, if you can go to an office and sit with a therapist face-to-face in person, I think that's a great way to do it. I've done it that way, and I can't recommend it highly enough. Finding one, driving there, driving back, finding the time, finding childcare if you need to, paying the money. That can be hard. My mom doesn't drive anymore. She's in her 80s. This is access to therapy. It's convenient, it's easy, and it'll become your support system. Our listeners get 10% off their first month. There's over 5,000 therapists in the UK, by the way. BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise in mental health. It's betterhelp.com/vision today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/vision. Do it now. And you know that we love talking about Indeed, the hiring partner where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Your business needs to hire someone yesterday. Can you get amazing candidates fast? Yep, you just use Indeed. Indeed is all you need. So it is to me one of those things. I was listening to a podcast about sludge the other day, and sludge is how the internet has kind of gotten in shitified, right? Everything's slower, harder, when this technology should make it easier. Indeed is a great way to cut through that sludge, because instead of multiple job sites, you get a sponsored job on Indeed. Your jobs stand out. You get hired fast. With a sponsored job, your job post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates so you can reach people faster. It makes a huge difference because according to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. 45%. It's pretty good. Plus, with Indeed, sponsored jobs are no monthly subscriptions, no long-term contracts. You only pay for results. Again, eliminate sludge. Get the hiring done. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners to this show get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your job more visibility at Indeed.com/ArsenalVision. Just go to Indeed.com/ArsenalVision right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/ArsenalVision. Terms and supply. Hiring Indeed's all you need. And last but not least, certainly not least, shave your privates. This is the dumb thing, right? You can laugh about this. And Andrew has done some very funny AI and April Fool's Day jokes about shaving your privates. But look, you do it. And did you know that one man every hour, every day is diagnosed with testicular cancer? In fact, it's the most common form of cancer among men ages 15 to 35. April is National Testicular Cancer Awareness Month in the U.S., which is why we're taking a second to talk about men's health issues that are important to me. Certainly, at my age, I'm getting a lot of screenings and stuff. You want to stay safe. With men's health and hygiene in mind, Manscaped has partnered with the Testicular Cancer Society, an amazing registered charity, and they're putting action behind their words, donating $50,000 to Testicular Cancer Society to help save lives and promote routine self-checks. So something to think about as we think about fundraising this month. Manscaped is thinking about it as well. They just dropped the special edition TCS Boxers 2.0. It helps support an amazing cause. Join over 12 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and use code ArsenalVision for 20% off and free shipping. Okay, the TCS Boxers with a brand new purple camo design, right, in honor of Testicular Cancer Society this month. But I do have their boxers. They're great. I like them for working out. They have what they call the jewel pouch design, and you can figure out what that does. It's anti-chafing, smooth, flat lock seams. The boxers feel like a second skin. No roll, tagless waistband, stays in place without digging in. It's just another great Manscaped product. Thing I've always said about Manscaped, their products are high quality. So if you want a product to shave your face, to shave your privates, you want their boxers, and you're supporting a good cause when you do it this month. So what are you waiting for? There are limited quantities available, the special edition TCS Boxers 2.0. So get them now while supplies last. Get 20% off and free shipping with code ArsenalVision at Manscaped.com. Visit Manscaped.com/TCS to learn more about how to check yourself to make a donation to the Cancer Society today and save lives and balls. That's ArsenalVision Manscaped.com, promo code ArsenalVision. Do it now, Clive. Is that enough of that?
Indeed.
Nailed it. Lots there, but that last one especially good in a month when we are thinking about fundraising and charity. Certainly you can give to our fundraiser, justgiving.com/page/AVP 2025. Help us hit our goal. Remember, we have a generous donor who is matching everything up to £150,000, and we will pick a winner for the Bournemouth VIP, Tim and Clive experience, box seat, live from N5, and all that for Bournemouth later this month. Clive, the Real Madrid tie, it is a historic occasion. Is Bukayo Saka going to start?
I think he may do. I think for psychologically, I think it's an important point that he starts. But if he doesn't, it's because he's not quite there yet, right? And so, as far as I'm concerned, his health and in the future, that's all that matters, right? Yeah, he's not here for 2 minutes, right? I'm hoping he's here for 10 years, right? So, but yeah, I think given the fact he did the presser today, even though that's not even a sign these days, that he's going to start, he's ready to start, and this game has been marked on the calendar for a long time. So I think it's important. He's done 45. He took it steady, shall we say, and but in the first game, Elliot, which I did see, he was good, right? He was generally good. So this is the game that you wait for, isn't it? This game, it's a shame we have to talk about referees because all morning I've been making plans about what I'm going to be wearing, what pub I'm going to be going into, how early am I going to get there, how many drinks I can have, how can I make sure my son drives the car home because I won't be able to. And that's the sort of stuff I've been thinking about. And I don't want Darren England to get in the way of that. I want to get into that ground.
Well, lucky for you, he's not refereeing on Tuesday.
I want to get into that ground super, super sharp and be ready to give everything I have to support that team. And that's all I'm thinking about. And so when you're a player, just think about this as a club, right? This is our second quarterfinal in 14, 15 years, right? The last time we played them was 20 years ago. That's a long time, mate. That is a long time. You spend a long time trying to get to this level to compete at the top end of the game. We spent a lot of time in playing Olympiacos, mate, in lower level competitions, And so we're here now. Last year it's Bayern Munich, and Mikel was brilliant in the press conference today when he said, we had them, and we blew it. Those are the underlying messages you want to be listening to. We had them, and we ended up conceding 2 goals when we had them. Do you know what I mean? And that ain't happening again. That isn't happening again. We're going to be going for this team to create some separation. At least if you go out because they're better. Bayern Munich, we didn't quite seize the opportunity. I didn't think they were better. They were more experienced at this level, and it was new for us. 1 year later, it's not as new, and we need to really enjoy it. You spend a long time in your life as a player, going back to where you started, Elliot, with Saka, as a player, building your levels, playing every 3-4 days, traveling around Europe, playing for your country, and you get a chance for a home quarter final against Real Madrid. Hell yeah, he's playing. Yeah, and I bet you they're all springing around training today, trying to catch Mikel's eye, saying, please play me, right? And that's what any footballer would be doing. These are the moments that you live for, right? Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm curious. I mean, how important? Well, I want to stay on Bukayo Saka just for a second. I know Tim noticed this, and I did when I watched it. It's funny. I noticed this watching, and I chatted in the Discord about it. People told me to go F myself because nobody wanted to hear it. But there was a sprint where he held like a dribble attempt where he held his thigh or was feeling his thigh. And I don't know if Mikel is sandbagging here or what, but he's said today in his press conference, Bukayo came through the 45 minutes really well. We built him up. He's feeling great. So I'm inclined to trust what Mikel is saying. I think Saka will start this game is my instinct. Did you see the moment? I mean, for me,
I didn't see the moment, and I was searching around for it, and I just didn't see it. So, if others have seen, I don't think many people have seen it online because I had to search around and to have a look.
There's a picture of him holding his thigh going around, and I saw it in real time because I went right to the Discord. I was like, "Did anyone else see that?" And people were like, "Go F yourself."
So I can only say I watched the press conferences like a nerd this morning, and I didn't sense there was any sandbagging going on. I sensed excitement, and that's when I started ringing around people to say, "What time are you getting there?" so yeah, that's how I felt about it.
The right hand side is where we're strongest, and it may potentially be where Real Madrid are weakest. Obviously, Odegaard having Saka back could be helpful for him. The decision of who's going to partner with them as the center forward who comes over and creates the triangles there is going to be interesting. Do you have thoughts on what he'll do? I think Leo made a case. He scored his goal well. He's not had the most clinical season, but he is one of the few players in our team that you feel could score from that situation. Just has an eye for where the goal is. But then again, Mikel Merino seems to put everything on target. He's been a good finisher for us. And it does give us a focal point. Although, like I said, I thought Leo was good against Everton. Do you have an instinct on what Mikel will do there?
I think it's 2 legs and it's 5 subs on each leg. So I think if you're looking at Real Madrid from 30,000 feet, both their fullbacks are not their nominal fullbacks. And we are a team that attacks in wide areas. So I would be going there. Absolutely going there with everything we have. We ain't got to change. We just build up and we go into wide areas. Either side, doesn't really matter. This is what we do. And to be honest, we're very hard to stop the ball getting to Martinelli's and Saka's feet. What happens thereafter is the things we have to work on, but every team does, but build up, getting to the final third is what you coach, and then you're down to individual players' ability to make the right decisions under pressure, which is obviously much higher when you're closer to the opposition's goal. So I actually feel this is a sort of team, much like PSG, funny enough, where I feel their attacking strengths are in wide areas. I actually feel our defence, particularly in wide areas, is quite good. We've got good one-on-one players, and so we feed into this. And so I for PSG, for example, they have quite a small midfield. We're quite physical in midfield. I think we dominate them in the central areas, right? So the second balls, we're going to dominate that. For Real Madrid, I think it's more challenging centre midfield. But I think defensively, I don't think they're as stable. I think we can get at them. We can get them in open play. We can get them in set-piece play. Gabriel's not there. Well, it doesn't matter. Real Sociedad haven't got anybody like Saliba or Ben White or even Kivior or anybody or Rice or Merino to make those set pieces count. So I would play Merino in this game, probably, Elliot. The away game, I may have a slight change on that. And because I think we may need to spring a little bit more on the counter. So you want something slightly different, right? So, but the game will go in quarters, particularly, and this is the first quarter. What do you want to do? We want to impose ourselves then. We want to make them concerned into wide areas, attack them on the outside, travel, overload, balls into the box, make them defend, impose ourselves on them. I think I've said it before, I'll say it again, the next phase for Arsenal Football Club is not ability. We can add a bit more ability, which we will do. The next phase for us is psychology, it's mentality, it's believing we belong on this stage. You know, we were tentative against Bayern. We were tentative. We know it in our hearts. We were concerned. We had the 10-2 in our mind. We didn't quite believe. We have to change that dial. This is what it's all, the next phase of us is all about this. Just tweaking that dial more on belief to apply our ability and talent on any given stage when you're under pressure. That is the next step for us. Forget who you want to buy. It doesn't matter unless you have that bit sorted. The bit between the ears. And guess who's got the best bit between the ears of any team in the world? And it's Real Madrid.
Yeah.
They've got nothing. They haven't got all their players there. Do you think, they just roll on? We're Real Madrid. We need to get a bit of that into our DNA. You need to get a bit of that thinking into our DNA so we can start to win and you develop a trophy-laden history because you think you belong there, on that stage. I think it's very important we do that.
Yeah, I mean, certainly winning a tie like this would help build that. The thing I'd say to your point about being tentative, I actually don't think we were tentative in the home leg. I think we got on top of them early and we were dominating them. I think the problem is we weren't clinical, we weren't ruthless. We made a mistake that let them back in it. I feel we were very tentative away where I don't think we had the confidence that we could go hurt them. I think this tie could play the same way if we don't make the first leg count, which is why I think this is such an important game, because I think if we go to the second leg with a lead, I think that plays very much into what we can do well. But I don't think we're going to go to the Bernabeu with the confidence that we can hurt them and recover. I think it would look a lot like the Bayern tie in that respect. The thing I'll say about Mikel and Arsenal, I don't think we've looked bad against good teams much, if ever, since Mikel came. I mean, remember, we won an FA Cup when we were terrible against a very good Chelsea and a very good City in the final and the semifinal. Aside from that City game at the Etihad where we played with Rob Holding and we got run around a bit, we haven't really been embarrassed much by any good team. And I think we have the most points against the top six, I think, over the past 3 seasons of anyone. We've been good against good sides. We beat PSG this season. We lost to Inter. But candidly, I think we all know, that was one of our better performances. There was a weird penalty incident in that game.
Turning point performance, that was. Inter away was a turning point performance.
So there's a lot here, though. But one of the things, there are a couple challenges to factor into this. One of them is Jude Bellingham. I think the midfield's an interesting one because if they start Modric, I think a Modric, Camavinga, Bellingham midfield, I think we can win that battle physically, and I think we can outplay them in midfield. But Jude Bellingham is an interesting problem for Thomas Partey to deal with. We've seen smart, attack-minded players find the shadow behind Thomas Partey, get behind him, get him in between our central defense and Partey and find that space. We've seen De Bruyne do it at the Etihad in that game where we were outplayed when Holding started. What do you think we do with Bellingham? There's certainly the question of, would you want to start Rice at 6 and give him a sort of remit to go chase Bellingham around? I don't think we'll do that. So are you worried about him in particular as the joker in the pack, so to speak, someone who can cause us a matchup problem?
Yeah, well, they've got their front four is pretty good, isn't it? Rodrigo, Bellingham.
I'd take all of them.
Yeah, they're going to cause problems. This is hence why I think we need to hold on to what we have and make sure we can attack them. Because if we sit back and worry about what they have, then they've won. We might as well not turn up. Seriously, we might as well not turn up. And so we need to be able to put the ball into areas where they don't want it to go, into their right back where they've got a midfielder running there, and into their left back. I'm not sure, but Felo Mendy's not going to play, so who's going to play there? I'm not sure. Right? So yeah, they've got many defenders out, so we need to challenge them. That's where my head is, Elliot. So, by the way, Jude Bellingham, one of my most favourite footballers, when he rolls in off that left-hand side onto his right foot, does a 1-2, runs into the area. I haven't seen many people go with him. I haven't. But I tell you where he's running into. He's running into William Saliba. That's one person I trust to see the 1-2 and to run in. Right? So, and the most important thing with people like Jude Bellingham and Modric and co is to starve them off the ball. Have your players who can look after the ball, move it quickly into areas where they don't want to be running back to. That's the best way to think about stopping them. It really is. And to be able to build up with efficiency and rhythm and one touch. And I think it's really interesting that, Odegaard and Partey got rested for this game. Because I think that's where the party's going to be, mate, in that right-hand side of the pitch. And that needs to be sharp. It really does. Timber got rested for this game. That's where it's going to be, in that side, and that's where we are. That's our side. That's where we don't even think we can do it with our eyes shut. And we potentially, depending on selection, we could have our holy trinity back together on that right-hand side. Right? And to be honest, when I saw White do that overlap at the weekend, I'd forgotten how dangerous that is.
He had a great cut back to Sterling.
Yeah, I'd forgotten. I'd forgotten that very, very quickly. I'd forgotten it. We've done a lot more one-touch, rat-a-tat sort of combination play, but White 25-yard long sprints, overlaps, I've missed them. And so who knows what you're going to do over these two legs? But I go back to it, Elliot, and maybe it's not great podcasting to keep talking about what we need to do, but I think it's so important because if we look at them too much, players might as well be sitting in the stands with us. Do you know what I mean? They might as well be. I think it's really important that we impose ourselves on them. Really do.
Yeah. I think a player who's going to be really important to that extent is Gabriel Martinelli, who had another really nice 45 minutes against Everton. He is coming around. He had what I think of as the trademark Martinelli move when he's really in form, which is an instinctive early cut inside explosively and get a shot off a curler. Pickford saved it well, but this is consecutive appearances now where he looked really bright. I'm sure he's very excited to go announce himself to the world again, re-announce himself against Real Madrid. And I think he's very important because of the pace in behind, obviously, but also his intensity in running and recovering to go help his left-sided defensive partners in Kivior and Miles Lewis-Skelly. So while the right is where we are strongest defensively and in attack from a talent standpoint, the left is where we might be most vulnerable defensively, but have the most interesting option in terms of not being so one note and having some pace. And that's with Martinelli. So I see him as a very, very important figure in this game at both ends of the pitch. Very encouraged by recent performances as well. What do you think?
Yeah, I think if we talked about Marino centre forward or Trossard centre forward. We don't play with a centre forward really. We play with a wide man who's highest up the pitch, and that wide man will be Martinelli, who was rested for this game. And I think Mikel knows what he's doing. He knows that, but in the game against Fulham, he was outstanding, right? And that 90-minute game was almost like prep for this game. Sit him down at Everton, did a little bit towards the end, impress his people, but this is the game. This is the game. This is where we need to hurt them on that side. We build on the right, we kill from the left. And that's how it's going to be, right? So I think he's a very important player, and Marino is an exit strategy, and he's a controlling strategy alongside Odegaard in almost like a square in there, like a double false 9 or double false 10, whatever you want to do. But be there as we build up to make sure you're the highest point, to be that point in the centre. To challenge, I think it's Asensio and Rudiger are going to play, right? So Rudiger we know about. Loose cannon, got to be smart around him. If you go near him, he'll fall to the ground, get free kicks. But not going to control us in the air. They're not going to control us from set pieces. It can't be done. Until Gabriel went down, I had this podcast in my mind for weeks. I thought they'd not be able to, I've seen them. And then, of course, Sociedad scores goals from set pieces. I thought, it might have been Valencia scored goal from set pieces and beat them at the weekend. I'm thinking, you ain't seen Gabriel yet. Do you know what I mean? But, of course, he's not going to be there. But we got others. And also, we're organised. That's the key thing. We have an organised way of approaching this that they haven't seen before. And for all those people and all those Manchester United commentators are thinking, here we go, Clive, you and your set pieces. Well, mate, you won the Champions League with 2 set pieces yourself, right? So, it doesn't matter what happens, how you get there. You just got to get there, And I think that's my watch. I think it's really important that we just get there. So So yeah, I can't wait, Elliot. Basically, I can't wait for this game. I can't wait to be tested in this way. You know, we all love our team. We think they're the best team in the world. Then you meet the best team in the world, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? You want to be tested.
Well, that leads to a good part of this conversation. And obviously, if you want a detailed perspective on this from the Madrid side, we're going to have a patron pod out literally in a couple of hours from the Madrid side. But looking at them, not as a Madrid supporter, obviously, not knowing much, they've played 12 times in the Champions League this season. You want to just have a guess at how many clean sheets they've kept in 12 fixtures in the Champions League?
I don't know. Now, by the way you asked that question, I don't think it's 12 clean sheets. That's for sure, right? So
it's 11. No, I'm kidding.
How many? You tell me.
One clean sheet in 12 fixtures, and that was against Brest. Right. Otherwise, they've conceded against Stuttgart, Lille, 2 to Dortmund, 3 to Milan, 2 to Liverpool, 2 to Atalanta, 1 to Salzburg, 2 to City, 1 to City, 1 to Madrid, 1 to Atletico Madrid, 1 to Atletico Madrid. Defensively, they don't have a great record, not just in the Champions League, but in La Liga. If you look at goals allowed, they are 1, 2, whoops, that's the wrong way to sort that. 1, 2, 3, 4. They are 5th in goals allowed in La Liga. They have lost 5 times in La Liga, and they are currently sitting second, which is not a disgrace. But for Madrid to be 4 points behind Barcelona, having lost 5 times with 6 draws, obviously that's not going to make them happy. I've been on Madrid social media a bit, just poking around. There's a lot of get this fraud Carlo out of our club, which you got to laugh at. Got to laugh at the entitlement. But that gives you sort of an idea of where the discourse around football and social media is anyway. Yep. But there's some questions about his tactics, and it's an interesting one because we're certainly not at full power, but I think the Madridistas would say they aren't really the best version of themselves right now either. Now, they sat back and countered against City, and City can't stop anybody right now, so it was effective. But what do you think of the idea, and I know nobody wants to entertain this idea because it's almost scary, but the idea that maybe this Madrid isn't an all-conquering Madrid, even if the names on the team sheet seem very scary?
Yeah, it's sort of these teams that have won the Champions League 15 times, they sort of develop this aura, don't they, in the competition? And many times I've looked at the TV screen thinking, well, they're not that good. The next minute, 2 goals in 3 minutes, and they've won the game, right? So because they believe in themselves. And that's it. And they believe in that shirt. They believe in the badge. There's expectation on them that they just routinely get to semi-finals and finals and win Champions Leagues. Simple as that. I've seen them in finals against Atletico Madrid where they were just absolutely battered and they end up winning the game with a late goal and winning in extra time. Right? So this is just the way they are. I think for me, I don't look at them and, well, I haven't. Let's see how they feel. I think it's very important sometimes. I remember last year the Bayern Munich game, and I was feeling quite hopeful. And the music goes, Elliot. I'm standing in my seat area, and I looked at their team, and I thought, all their top boys are here. They're all here. They're not going to win the league, and they're rested. And suddenly it dawned on me when I see those names in the back of the shirts, who we're playing. Mm-hmm. And it became really, really apparent to me that this was big time football. And we're going to have that feeling tomorrow. And from the press conferences today, I think Mikel knows this is a step in our psychology, in our history. And that's why he's made a call to the fans. He's made a call to the fans to get in there early. There's a call for the fans to be there for the warm-up, to try to create something we've never seen before. Try to create something that we haven't felt before, to take that feeling of invincibility away from them, to let them know how keen we are to take it from them. I think that's really important. And so, yeah, if I allow myself to get worried about them, crikey, it's going to be a long night, isn't it? It really is. But I really feel there's something special brewing if we can get it right on and off the pitch. I think we have things they're going to find difficult to stop. We're not one of these teams that cower away from passing the ball through the lines and build up. We've got people with ability. We need to manage the moments better than we did against Bayern. When we have a down period, can we get a nil in that period? Can we get a nil rather than conceding 2 in 5 minutes, whatever it was, which changed the whole tie? Can we get a nil in that period? Because I think if we can, our belief structure will grow really, really quickly.
Yeah, you can't make mistakes against this front line. I mean, that's a key, obviously. I think the word is that Thibaut Courtois is back.
Yeah,
I'm sort of curious, like, that's a shame because I think
he's
he's the
good.
best keeper in the world.
He's very good.
Is there any part of you, though, that's like okay with him? You never know with keepers if any of this matters, but like having not played for a while and suddenly you're at the Emirates in a big Champions League title, like not having had the feel of the ball hitting his gloves. I mean, is there any advantage to a cold keeper coming back in, or is it just a bad break for us that he's around?
He can go one of two ways, right? He can turn into the best, the best game of his life off game one. And it's the second game that he messes up in, because sometimes adrenaline takes you through the first game. Or he can come in and be totally cold. And one of the things that you do struggle with when it comes to not playing as a goalkeeper, I feel, is distances. Because when you're in training, you take lots of shots, you save lots of shots, because that's what you do, right? But maybe your distances, if you want to run through lines, coming out to the edge of your area, and also coming out further on set pieces, you feel more like I want to be close to my line, because this is where I feel comfortable with, particularly when you're cold, not coming back. So we just have to test him, right? He's absolutely brilliant. He's great move for him getting there ahead of De Gea. Great move. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
But this is maybe not the worst time to face him when he hasn't been around for a little while.
Yeah. I mean, look, there are some people, I think the kids call that copium, right? Right. Like, I don't know if that's the case. So I think where I'm at with this, Clive, is I want us to play our game because I think we're built to play a certain way. And that means having the ball, pressing, pushing them back, doing all the things we do. But when you look at the pace they have in behind and the players we're missing defensively, is there any part of you, sort of as a final thought tactically, that would consider not playing our regular game and deferring a little more, trying to hit them where they're weak and pack it in a little bit more in the areas where they can hurt you? Like, is it possible for a team like Arsenal to shift perspectives that way, especially at home, or do you expect to see our usual tactical approach to the game?
If you ask me honestly, I expect to see, if you want to name the team I think will play, I think it will be Kiwior left centre back, it'll be Miles, it'll be Timber, it'll be Saliba, Partey, Rice, Odegaard, it'll be Marino, Martinelli and Saka. That's what I think we'll do. And if I have that team coming out, I'm thinking play normal game. We've got tactically smart players who can adjust to the moment in the game. Marino can adjust in, so can Rice. We've got players another way around the football pitch. Got captains of their countries, vice captains for their countries. We've got people that have, played prominent roles for their countries. We've got nothing to be worried about. The one player that this will be new for will be the 18-year-old left back. But last time I looked, he doesn't look like a little flower that's cowering in the corner, right? So he would relish this moment, right? So, yeah, I think it's very important that we play our game. I don't think we can beat them playing in somebody else's game. That's my feeling. There will be moments like we do, and we do it really, really well, where we need to drop into shape, and we're really good at that, right? So we need to understand the game that's on offer. And if we are rocking a bit, and we need to go to a 5-4-1 diamond sort of thing, 5-diamond-1, and do something different, then we do something different, and we send them into areas, and we corral them. We've seen all of these things watching Mikel Arteta's Arsenal. We've seen it all before. We're not a one-trick pony. We're missing the running of Havertz down the sides. We're missing that. We know Saka's only 3 games in, so he's not going to be explosive for 90. We know that, right? So, but we have got other things, and we just need to make sure they work on the day. I would like to see the skipper come up with something special on the day. It would be nice. I watched that McAllister goal yesterday, and I thought it's been a while since our skipper's hit one from outside the edge of the area and put it in the top corner. Those things just mean a lot to you. They give you almost like 1.5 goals when you score a goal like that. Some goals can really stab you in the heart when you get them. I remember the goal Liverpool scored this year, the set piece goal that I think Van Dijk scored. He sort of came out of nothing, just one contact on the near post, and they've equalised for barely deserving it. And it really hurt, You know, sometimes goals hurt if you score them at the right time with the right level of skill, etc. So I want to see people like that maybe step up who haven't stepped up before. Declan, stop passing it around the edge of the box, mate. It's on your right foot. Let it go. Let it go. Change your life. Change the club's life. Let it go. Believe in your talent. I really believe this is their time, right? They're 25s now, not 22 like they were 3 years ago, just breaking in. They're 25, ready to go. So I'm really excited at it. I really am.
I'm hugely excited. I think it's a big moment for the club. I don't see us as a team that gets outplayed, but I do see us as a team where errors in critical moments have cost us. And I have the slight suspicion that Mikel might try to minimize that and might go with Timber, White, Saliba, and Maslow Skelly. I think that there's a chance, assuming fitness, that Kivior won't start. I have a little weird thing with Mikel where I think the way he talked about Bukayo recovering really well and feeling good, that maybe he's trying to fool Madrid there, and that Ethan might start and Saka might have to come on later. Just based on how he played against Everton. And if that's the case, I feel totally confident in Ethan. I mean, it is the case that I think Premier League teams have maybe gotten familiar with Ethan. I'm not sure Madrid will necessarily be. It could be David Alaba at left back. You know, it's going to be an interesting defensive line for Real Madrid. They are not strong there. They've conceded a lot of goals. They conceded 4 against Sociedad in the Copa del Rey semifinal. As I mentioned, they only have 1 clean sheet in the Champions League. And I think Carlo Ancelotti gave something away, I think, Clive, in a comment he made after their loss at the weekend of Valencia. She said, Arsenal will attack more, so it will be a different game. And that's just a bit of a warning shot, right? Which is he knows that when teams attack him more, that's when his talented attackers can go flying. So we've just got to be really, really careful to avoid mistakes, which is why I think he might be a little more conservative with the back line as a final point. I think this is one of those situations where you can't win the tie this leg because anything can happen at the Bernabeu, as we've seen over the years, but you can lose it. So for me, Clive, the absolutely critical thing is simply put yourself in a position where you can win this tie in the second leg. And I think that means I don't know that I'd take a draw. I think I want to be winning coming out of this leg to have confidence in the Bernabeu. What do you think we need to do in this game as a final thought to be well positioned for the second leg? And by the way, they have Alaves away on Sunday. Not a really tough opponent, but they're just 4 points behind Barca. So they're probably going to have to play a real team. We can do whatever the hell we want in the Premier League over the weekend against, I believe it's Brentford.
Brentford, yeah.
So, we'll see. But what's your thought on what we have to come away from this leg with to feel good about not that you're ever going to feel good at the Bernabeu, but to feel reasonably good? Last time we needed a draw. We got it. What do you think of this time?
I think we should have beaten Bayern last time, and that was the key.
Sorry,
really.
I meant last time we played Madrid in the Champions League. Sorry.
Yeah, so the second game was we were 1-0 up, so we got a draw at home. So I think it'd be nice to have a lead. I think the key for me, this is the key. The key for me is make your moments count. So if we get good moments, just make them count. That's the key. You've got to have the right intent to play. So I know we spend a lot of time talking about who plays. I don't particularly care. Honestly, I don't. Because when you sit there and you're going through your team talk, it's about your intention and your belief and what your plan is, right? And the players on the pitch are the ones that are best suited for that plan, and that's it for me. I don't want to see anyone hiding behind the settee. Go out there and show what you've got. That's it. And I personally wouldn't be conservative. I wouldn't be able to sleep if we went out there conservative, lost the game 1-0, didn't show my talent. I wouldn't be able to sleep. I never forgive myself. Absolutely never give myself 20 years to get to a game like this, and I decide to not do anything. That'd be awful. It'd be absolutely awful. Based on what? They've got injuries just like we have, right? And if you want to reach the top level of football, the very, very top level of football, you don't do that by cowering when the moment arrives. You do that by attacking the moment, seizing the moment, showing your talent that you spent many, many years fine-tuning. So it's a strong mentality thing for me, and that's who I am, right? And I'm a football man, right? Football background. These are the moments you live for. I just can't. I one of my number one emotions I have right now, Elliot, is jealousy for those players walking out on that pitch in that crowd. Can you imagine what that's like? Can you imagine it? Oh my God, it'd just be unbelievable. I feel for Gabriel not being there because he deserves to be there. He truly deserves to be there. So yeah, just hope they seize the moment really and seize the opportunities that are going to be presented to them, no matter how fleeting. And that's what we need to do. Take them.
Yeah, well said, Clive. And the trickiest part of this tie, we obviously have to beat them and progress. But Saliba needs to play well enough that we win, but not so well that they sign him this summer. That is a really tricky needle to thread. Got to be careful with that one.
I think he'll be all right.
I'm kidding. I'm the worst. I'm excited. And I do think the fact that they have been defensively weak is an exciting opportunity for us because I don't think anybody's ever going to get too much joy against us defensively. He says, stabbing himself in the back multiple times. But I think we can sometimes be held at bay too easily, but that's not Madrid's strength. So I'll be very excited to see what we produce in this game. It is a great measuring stick for where we are. And no, we don't go into it fully healthy, but we do go into it, I think, with the players that can hurt them with Saka back. And that is very exciting. I just have this weird sneaking suspicion that in a game where it's going to be about your mental toughness and your character and your ability to stand up to the big moment, I just think maybe defensively we might see White and Timber both come in, but we'll see. Whoever's out there, we're going to back them to the hill, obviously get there early, be loud, lots of support. It's a huge moment for our club. We'll have a great instant reaction at full time. We'll have the full main pod on Wednesday. We're going to have the Real Madrid view on the tie for patrons in 3-ish hours. So you can check that out. And if you want to add a little good karma, giving to the fundraiser, I'm not saying that means we'll win. I'm just saying karma. Every bit of karma helps. Clive, you excited?
I think hopefully it came across. Yep, I'm excited very much so.
I really wish I could be there, but I am very glad to hear your voice notes at halftime and full time saying you never expected that we would be so far up in the tie at the end of the first leg. That is going to be...
I fancy another PSV. There you go.
Would you feel good going to the Bernabeu with that lead, or would you still be shitting it? Because I don't...
Elliot, you're scared of your own shadow, so you're different to me.
That is true.
So, but yeah, let's go.
He's tough, that shadow. You ever seen his guns? Anyway, Clive, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Huge moment for our club, everybody. We love you, and we're excited to go through it together. And whatever it is, we'll stay together, and we'll get behind the team, and we'll hope for the best. And it's an interesting moment to be measuring ourselves. And definitely a lift that we could all use. So I'm excited for it, and I hope you are as well. Okay. By the way, might do a pre-match live stream as well, depending on whether the nerves allow it. So you can stay connected to us to find out more about that. Well, this is it, everybody. Good luck tomorrow. Good luck to the boys wearing the Arsenal shirt. We love you. And we will talk to you after Arsenal 10, Real Madrid 0.